All right, this is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Ball game tonight, but hey, sometimes you gotta take care of life first. Hence, being home in the studio after what's been an incredible week in Edmonton Oilers land. And there's even more news yet today. I think, obviously the Oilers signed a player, they signed a coach, and they signed an assistant down there on the farm. So a big day all told for the Edmonton Oilers. Again, here in what has been the early part of July, what has transpired to be probably the best early part of July we've had in a lot of summers. So let's go. The Edmonton Oilers giving us lots to talk about, lots to listen about, and lots to engage with throughout the early part of the summer. Before we get into the subscribe ad, I do want to give a heartfelt thank you and a shout out to the kind gentleman in front of me at Superstore today on the way home, allowing me with just the old jug of milk to cut in front and get out of the grocery store on the way here to get this done here today. So whether that guy ends up listening at all or whatever the case might be, I do want to pass that along because something I worked on when I took my break from YouTube from the first half of this channel to the new half of this channel was that honest, humble, and kind Canadian stereotype thing. And to be honest with you, if I'm not making note of that, for those of you back home, somebody did something really incredible for me today to allow me to do the thing I love to do for you right here, right now. Well, I'd be amiss for sure after taking that time off. So with that said, if you're new to the channel, well, welcome aboard. You got a pretty good preview on all that. I like talking about the Oilers. I try to make sure the people that treat me good know get the love back. But if you want more Oilers talk, that's where I'm going with this. You should probably hit that subscribe button. It's going to be a good summer. I think what I was talking about earlier has proved that. So let's get into it. I think the number one thing you're here for today is not the Raphael Lavoie signing, because for most people, his time came and gone when the contract situation happened last year, whatever. We'll talk about that in a minute. Bob Stauffer today, he's been an electric factory when it comes to Edmonton Oilers news. I'm putting air quotes up behind the graphic. Top 10 list of prospects in the Oilers system, according to Bob Stauffer, on July 8th, following the Ryan McLeod for Matthew Savoie. I knew I was going to mess that up. Matthew Savoie, obviously, number one. That was Bob Stauffer's bold take. As soon as he was acquired, that becomes the Edmonton Oilers' number one prospect, does Matthew Savoie. And then you've got as well Sam O'Reilly, who was just drafted 32nd overall this year. You've got Raphael Lavoie, who's in there as well, right? He just signed the contract today. More on that in a moment. Xavier Bourgault, who we will see some of hopefully at some point this year if there's an injury. Bo Akey, who's going to have a pretty interesting year back from injury. Noah Philp, who's returning from a retirement season, I guess you could say. I took time off to tend to some matters. Good on him. Olivier Rodrigue, whose father, we'll talk about here a little bit later, has moved on from goaltending coach duties in Bakersfield. And Max Wanner, of course, in there as well, who we might see get a little taste of the NHL just in case of injury. And of course, he's right-hand D, so if you move out Cody Ceci, he would be kind of the guy that comes in there naturally in case of replacement. I think based on his career trajectory right now, and the Oilers trying to evaluate him at the next level given a year in the minors. Matvei Petrov, who we drafted a little while ago, this guy's going to have a fun year to watch, that's for sure. And Emil Vini, who is coming into the organization following being drafted the highest ranked goalie. I was on the lake that day, right? Second round, I was on the lake enjoying Cold Lake for the first time in 3 years. But Emil Vini was drafted in that second round. And like I said, I believe he was the highest goaltender taken in the 2024 entry draft. So that is, once again, your top 10 prospects list in order. Savoie, O'Reilly, Lavoie, Bourgault, Akey, Philp, Rodrigue, Warner, always screw that one up, Petrov, and Vinny. That's your top 10 according to Bob Stauffer. So nice, easy, and simple today, right? Obviously a good situation to have that much talent in the pipeline. And you look at it, it's pretty diverse as well. You've got some centers, you've got some wings, you've got two goaltenders, you've got two defensemen. No left-hand D coming up, but again, the Oilers, if they need left-hand D, Ekholm, Nurse, they can trade for one, Broberg, right? There's a couple of options there when it all comes said and done for the Edmonton Oilers when it comes down to the left-hand side. So we move on to the new news of the day. Like I said, the Oilers have given us lots to talk about. While Raphael Lavoie signed his new deal for this upcoming season, a 1-year, 2-way contract at $775. Why would we even bother talking about this? This is just an RFA signing a league minimum to play in the minors. Well, you know, if he had done that last year, he probably would have played a little bit more at the NHL level. So this is kind of one of those situations where he's not going to be a cap casualty when it comes to training camp this year as he was last year. He still very well might get cut because this is a Stanley Cup caliber team, and the Edmonton Oilers are, I should add into this video a little bit, I don't have a graphic for it, the NHL put it out on Twitter today. The Edmonton Oilers right now, I'm not much of a betting guy, but obviously the Oilers are the odds-on favorites to win the Stanley Cup as of July 8th in the NHL for 2025. So, okay, game on, let's go. But yeah, Raphael Lavoie signs his deal. So again, this Stanley Cup caliber team still provides lots of youngster depth and lots of veteran depth as well. On the AHL staff, note though, when we discuss things going on in Bakersfield a little bit here, like a Raphael Lavoie, like all those prospects we just talked about, except for Sam O'Reilly and maybe Emil Vinny, there's a lot to be worked on down there. Kalle Larsson's been brought aboard. He'll be part of that, I'm sure. He's been part of already grabbing Matthew Savoy, one would figure. Colin Chalk and Keith McCambridge will be back alongside video coach Chris Horn, who formed a bench that at times had things figured out in Bakersfield this past year, and then at other times just not. Again, Bakersfield Condors weren't really a developmental team last year, and that's kind of the problem here for them. They had some injuries, they had lots of old guys, pros I guess is the more correct term in the AHL. And then you just had a whole bunch of other wicked situations, lack of prospect pool depth in the Oilers organization, and Colin Chalk making some weird lineup decisions, all that. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that you can throw at the Bakersfield Condors this past year that really, well, is this the guy? Well, he is the guy. And again, I'm sitting here hopefully thinking, you look back at this list, okay, this is where I'm going. You look at this list, Xavier Bourgault has to take that massive leap forward this year. Raphael Lavoie has to dominate every shift if he's in the AHL this year. Matthew Savoy is the biggest prospect you've had on the Bakersfield Condors. Who would be the last big guy? I mean, Evan Bouchard, I guess. I guess would be the last huge one. I obviously Philip Broberg this past year, but you get where I'm going. Bo Akey will probably get a little opportunity at the end of the season if he's not got commitments. Noah Phillips back. So the Condors are going to be a much better team this year. Olivier Rodriguez is going to take his last step in the AHL. Max Warner hopefully is ready to rock and roll. Matvei Petrov as well. So Colin Chalk is going to have a lot more depth himself in the AHL ranks to work with. And I think that's maybe where I see this contract extension coming from. I know there's a lot of hard feelings towards Chalk from what I've read online today, and I understand it. But for the Oilers, you've got Kalle Larsson in there, so if he's brought on to be the head of player development, he'll be working with the team, with Keith Gretzky, with Colin Chalk alongside to build something along here with that. At least that's what has been sent to me. So that's where we're looking at for the Edmonton Oilers organization. This might not be the perfect move, but it's about the best one the Oilers have to just keep consistency in the organization, right? Our young guys that have been playing for Chalk get to keep playing for him and finish off their whole journey to the NHL. And then obviously the other young guys get to really push those older young guys into the NHL by playing really good and forcing maybe a call up for somebody else but them. So plenty to discuss here on a good old Monday evening, friends. I'm off to Crossfield to go play some ball, so enjoy the heck out of your hot Monday in July. So we've got a hot week coming up here over the course of this Stampede week in Calgary. So thanks for being aboard, friends. Enjoy it. Drink lots of water. And again, shout out to that guy from the grocery store saving time on this Monday. I am up on out of here.